Here are the answers for the section 8-3 homework assignment. On question 1, we're given the center of a circle and the radius of the circle, and we're asked for the equation. To do this, you follow the general form. In parentheses, x minus h squared plus, and then in parentheses, y minus k squared equals r squared. The number after the minus sign, the h, is the x-coordinate of the center. The number after this minus sign, the k, is the y-coordinate of the center. So the center has numbers h comma k. The square root of r squared, which is just r, is the radius of the circle. We're going to take these numbers that were given and use them as the values of h, k, and r. So h is the 0 here. K is the 4. R is the 3. So in parentheses, x minus 0, and then in these parentheses, y minus 4. And that's equal to r squared. So it's going to be 3 squared, which makes 9. Here's the equation of the circle. If you want, on this first part, you can just write it as x squared, since the minus 0 doesn't really do anything. Then number 3, same idea. The center of the circle give you the values for h and for k. And here's the value of r. So following our pattern, x minus 2 squared, and then in the next set of parentheses, y minus negative 2 squared. That's equal to r squared. So that's 49 over 4. Now it's normal to simplify a minus negative right here, this part here. So technically you should rewrite it x minus 2 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 49 over 4. Number 5, same idea. The center of the circle gets you values of h and k, and here's the value of r. So x minus negative 20 squared, and then y minus 30 squared. And that's equal to r squared. So the square root of 5 squared makes a 5. Again, there's the minus and negative, so we should fix that. Number 7, again, we're given the center, so that's h and k, and we're given the value of r. So x minus 9/4 squared, and then y minus 2/5 squared. That is equal to r squared. So 1.5 squared. That's 2.25. Number 9, same idea. The center is h and k, and for the letter r, we're told to use the letter r. So we have x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals r squared. You could leave it like this, or better, simplify it. Number 11, this time we're given an equation and we're asked to graph it. So because there's an x squared and then a plus and then a y squared, it has the look of a circle. But our general form for a circle has the constant on the right side. So the first thing we need to do is add the 36 to both sides. We have x squared plus y squared is equal to 36. Now where's the center? What's the value of h and k? Do you remember number 9 that we just did? We had x minus 0 just makes x squared, and we had y minus 0 just makes y squared. And that's what we have here, right? So what were those numbers for h and k? They were zeros. Then let's get the radius. What do you do to the 36 to get the radius? You do the square root. So the square root of 36 is 6. Let's make our best circle we can. Center right here at the origin and radius 6. So count 6 to the right and mark it with a dot. 6 up, 6 left, and 6 to the right. Then give it your best circle that you can. There's a tool that people use to draw circles. It's called a compass. It has a sharp pointy end, and on the other end it holds a pencil, and you poke it into the paper at the center and you stretch it out until it reaches this distance, and then you just spin the compass in a circle and it draws that for you. Without a compass, you're going to have to freehand it the best you can. Make sure it looks nice and round and doesn't look all lopsided. Number 13, here we have an equation. It's got an x squared and a y squared, so maybe it's a circle. But this doesn't have the right format, so let's fix that. First of all, we can multiply everything by -2. That'll get rid of those fractions and make it nicer. So -2 times -1/2 makes 1x squared. -2 times -1/2 makes +1y squared. And -2 times 50 makes -100. That's equal to 0. Now what do you need to do to get the right form for a circle? You have to add the 100 to the right side. So we have x squared plus y squared equals 100. Now we're ready to identify the center and the radius. Where's the center when it's just x squared and y squared and no numbers in parentheses? It's 0, 0. Now what's the radius? It's the square root of 100, which is 10. So draw yourself a quick grid and then mark +10, +10, -10, and -10. And then give it your best free-handed circle that you can that doesn't look lopsided when you're done. Well, that's pretty good. I kind of got a dent right there. Oh well. Okay, number 15. This has an x squared and a y squared. It might be a circle because circles have x squared and y squared, but it doesn't have the right format. You see this extra y term? We need to get rid of that so that we have the general form, which looks like this: x minus some number squared plus y minus some number squared is equal to the radius number squared. We want this one to have this look to it. And the thing that's preventing that is this has a plain old y. So we're going to use completing the square. Take half of this number, that's -1, and then square it, that makes 1. Add that number in the blank spot and on the right side of the equals. Now we can factor this trinomial in the letter y. We have x squared plus y minus 1 squared, and that's equal to 9. Now we have the correct format. We can get our center C figured out, and we can get our radius R figured out. For x over here, it's just a 0. But for y, it has a number subtracted from y. What is the value of k? It's 1. Now for radius, it's not 9. That's r squared. So r is only 3. Now we can graph it. Make a quick grid and find 0, 1 and put a dot there. That is the center dot. Now the radius is 3. So go up 3 from there, go left 3, go down 3, and go right 3. So from the center, up 3, left 3, down 3, and right 3. I've gone 3 units in all directions from the center. And now I'm ready to sketch in a nice round circle. You don't really draw with a dotted line. I'm only drawing a dotted line because I'm using ink on my computer, and it helps me to make it round. Okay, number 23. Find the radius value if we know the center of a circle and a point on the circle. Here's the situation. Let's make a quick sketch of it to help us picture what's going on. The center is at 0, 0, and then at 1, -3, there's a dot. And that dot is on the circle. So if you draw a circle around that center point, going through that dot, it would look something like this. Just tried to freehand a circle there, so we have something to look at. We want to know the radius. Well, what is the radius? It is the distance between the center and the point. The radius is a distance between dots. We need the distance formula. So r equals square root x2 minus x1 squared plus, do you remember this part of the distance formula? y2 minus y1 squared. Let's make some substitutions. x2 minus x1 means subtract the x's. 1 take away 0. That makes 1 squared. Over here, y2 minus y1 means subtract the y's. -3 minus 0. That makes -3 squared. So now we have the square root of 10. That doesn't simplify, so we can leave the answer like that. Number 25 is the same idea. If we want to find the radius, that simply means the distance between the center and that point that's on the circle. Let's use the distance formula to get radius. So it's a square root, and then we're going to find the difference of the x's. From -1 to +4, that's 5 units. Now the difference of the y's. From a 1 to a -3 is -4 units. Next step. 5 squared is 25, and -4 squared is 16. And those add up to a 41 in the radical. That doesn't simplify, so there's our answer. For the review assignment, we're going back to our unit about perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. Let's find the slope between this point and this point. We'll call that m. That's the letter used for slope. The formula is to find the change in the y's and the change in the x's. Subtract the y's, subtract the x's. 6 take away 2 is 4. 3 take away 1 is 2. That reduces to 2. If you drew a line through those two dots, the slope is 2. Now let's find the slope of a perpendicular to that. It's the negative reciprocal of 2. So it's -1/2. And number 8, find the equation of a line that goes through this point, and it is perpendicular to this equation. Again, if lines are perpendicular, their slopes are negative reciprocals. So in step 1, let's find the slope of this one. It is in standard form. This is A, this is B, this is C. To find the slope, it is -a over B. So -3 over -9. That's 1/3. What's the slope of a perpendicular line? That's the negative reciprocal. So it's -3/1. Well, that's just -3. We know a point, and we know the slope. Let's use point-slope form. It is y minus y1 equals m times, do you remember what goes in here? X minus x1. y1 means the y-coordinate of the point that's given to us, -7. M is referring to the slope of the equation we're writing. We figured that was -3. And then x minus x1, that's the 5. Okay, here's the equation, but because of this minus negative thing here, we should rewrite it as a plus sign.